Welcome back to Pat on the Back. I am your host, Pat O'Connor, and this week we have a very special episode of Idiot History. Okay, so Idiot History today is going to be on the Great Pig War of 1859. Now, this seems ridiculous as a title, which I agree. But have you ever gotten into a fight with someone over something that ultimately seems pretty stupid on the surface, but then when you dig in, you're like, all right, there's some deeper issues going on here. I may have to the layman, I may have overreacted to any bystander. You know what I mean? Like you someone accidentally knocks over your cup of coffee and you get into a fist fight with them. That's kind of how the pig war was. So it's the year 1859, and the United States and Great Britain are already arguing over the ownership of the San Juan Islands. Okay, which the San Juan Islands sit between what is now Washington State and Vancouver Island. Somehow Canada, I don't know when Canada was established as a country. I know Vancouver has something to do with Canada, but I mean, kind of egg in the face of Great Britain because you had what is now the U.S., and apparently you also had what is now Canada, and you lost them both to two separate people. So not a good look. But this whole problem stems back to the 1846 Treaty of Oregon. Now, for those of you who don't know, Oregon is right next to Washington State. So there you go. I don't know where the Vancouver Island is because I'm an American and I don't concern myself with other countries because I only care about one because I'm selfish like that. So anyway, the Treaty of Oregon established the U.S.-British border at the 49th parallel. And but when the border reached the water, it said it would follow the middle of the channel, separating the mainland from Vancouver Island. So for those of you who don't know what the 49th parallel is, doing my best to think back to 6th or 7th grade, the 49th parallel is, you know how when you look at like a globe or a map or whatever, and it's got all those lines that go across like horizontal and some that go like this? I'm pretty sure the 49th parallel is the one that it comes straight through America. Maybe. I could also be thinking of something to do with Mississippi. I'm not 100% sure. I did not research that particular part of this conflict. Okay, I don't really know what the 49th parallel is. I know it's a dividing point on the Earth that doesn't actually exist, but it exists. Like you can't go and like pick up the 49th parallel, but you can look at a map and be like, bam, there it is. That's what I know about the 49th parallel. Sounds easy. Middle of the channel, separating the mainland from Vancouver Island, right? Except there were two channels that could reasonably fit that description. The Haro Strait, which is the western route, or the Rosario Strait, which is the eastern route. I'm pretty sure, but not confident, that's where they got Rosario Dawson's name. I'm not 100% on that, but I also think her mouth is a little like uncomfortably wide in my opinion. I don't like the way it looks. It throws me off a little bit, but the Rosario Strait is the eastern route. Now, depending on which channel you considered, the channel, the San Juan Islands ended up on different sides of the border, whether that's the side of the border that belongs to the U.S. or the side of the border that belongs to Great Britain. So America's walking around like those are ours. The San Juan Islands, a very American sounding name in San Juan. They're ours. And Great Britain's like, no, they're ours because they're the San Juan Islands, which is obviously a British name. You know, I mean, if you heard San Juan Islands, you're like, obviously that was That America and Great Britain fought over those. Those are up north. Those are by Oregon and Washington and Vancouver. Obviously, the San Juan Islands. And now this is an important detail. I got to reference my notes because there's a lot going on here, okay? This is an important detail. The Hudson Bay Company, which is a British company that had enormous influence in the region, had established a sheep farm on the San Juan Islands, okay? We're not even at the fucking pigs yet. We're still talking sheep. Now, by 1859, there were more than 4,000 sheep located on the San Juan Islands, all right? But American settlers were also moving onto the islands and claiming land, and kind of justifiably so. Both parties are kind of in the right here because, again, we don't know where the fucking split is. You know what I mean? This shit was a crazy time. So you've already got a disputed territory, competing governments, American settlers, British interests. There's several thousand sheep involved in this entire thing. So we're arguing over a piece of land in the Pacific Northwest, and somehow we're adding a pig into this situation because the 4,000 sheep weren't enough. There needs to be fucking pigs. Okay? There's a border, could belong to anybody, and now there's 4,000 sheep and a pig. All right, we're all on the same page. Who the fuck knows? All right, this pig commits an act of war. Okay? And when I say pig, that's not slang for like this fucking piece of shit. It's a fucking pig. It's a real life pig. Like it goes oink, rolls in the mud. Mobsters use them to get rid of dead bodies. It's a pig. But before we get to the pig, we got to talk about Lyman Cutler. Now, Lyman Cutler is an American settler who's moved onto these islands, and he has a garden. I know. That's some intense storytelling. But Lyman Cutler, he has a garden. He's an American settler, and one particular pig keeps wandering over into his garden and eating his potatoes or carrots. I don't know exactly what the pig is digging up out of the ground. He's digging up his garden, his vegetables, his livelihood. They live on an island. When I picture an island, I picture a place that's rather hard to grow your own garden. Mostly because when I picture an island, I picture sand with one tree on it. And it's a tree that grows coconuts like maybe 4 or 5 a year. And there's not a lot of shade. You know what I mean? Like it's a beachfront property if you're on an island. So I can imagine that growing a garden would be difficult, which makes it even worse that this fucking random ass fucking pig keeps wandering over, munching his crops. Okay? And this is happening repeatedly. It is a constant problem that he just can't seem to solve. So Cutler's trying to deal with the problem, and eventually he finds the pig in his garden, and this is the fucking final straw. He gets his musket or whatever guns they used in 1859, and he fucking starts stuffing it, fires at the pig, kills it dead. This pig did deserve it. Okay? It's committing a crime. All right? It is stealing from another man. Granted, he could be stealing his flowers from his garden, but it is stealing nonetheless, okay? This pig is dead, and that's the incident. That's the whole thing. That kicks off the entire rest of this story. So we've got the background, the Treaty of Oregon, American settlers, British settlers, a pig keeps eating one guy's garden, Cutler shoots the pig, kills it fucking dead. He's had enough, okay? Now, here's the thing. Cutler, Lyman Cutler, good guy that he is, offers to pay for the pig. He goes, look, this was a problem. He kept eating my crops. but I'll do you a solid. I'll throw you a couple bucks. Okay? Now, I'm just a lowly farmer. I don't have a ton of money. You see a fucking bank around here? It's a goddamn island. Please take my money and don't bitch. All right? And the British responded with, okay, $10, that sounds good. It's a good deal. $10 is a lot of money in 1859. If I'm being honest, I feel like $10 is a decent chunk of change now. I would hold, I'd be a little iffy if I had to pay $10 for a pig I just shot. I'd be a little iffy if I had to pay $10 for the opportunity to shoot a pig. I don't know if I'd do that. But apparently, that wasn't good enough to resolve this conflict. The dispute becomes a question of whether Cutler is trespassing on British property and whether American settlers should be removed from the island. So this fucking pig is going to displace a lot of American families, okay? That's what we're staring down the barrel of. Kind of fucked up. Okay? Because now we're not talking about goddamn pigs anymore. We're not talking about goddamn 4,000 sheep anymore. We're talking about American lives, okay? And if there's one thing about this show, it's American. For the most part. I mean, we did advocate very strongly about how everyone stopped caring about soccer when they were eliminated from the World Cup. This is the same thing. We eliminated the pig. Now they wanted to eliminate us from the island. And that's a fucking problem, pal. Okay? That's a real fucking problem. So this is no longer about the pig. However, it absolutely was started because a pig would not stop eating another man's potatoes. I was trying to think of a funny slang word to say for that made it a bit sexual, but that would be weird considering that this is a pig. So the pig is eating another man's potatoes, and that's what started this whole thing, okay? So how much does a pig have to be worth before the government gets involved in this crisis, okay? That's how much this pig was worth to everyone involved. The U.S. government and the British government got involved with this entire thing. And so it's like, yeah, it's the pig's fault, but can you really blame the pig? It's like, it was eating someone else's potatoes, but also had no idea it was participating in international diplomatic political espionage or whatever the fuck it had going. You know what I mean? Like, that's crazy. And this is where America makes the decision that eventually will lead to British warships showing up on behalf of this pig, okay? So British warships start showing up, totally overstaffing, if I'm being honest. The British are dramatic people, at least at the time, and they kind of overcompensate here a little bit. They try and flash their big wiener, and America was like, we'll flash you back, okay? So American settlers want protection, okay? Because they're under fucking duress here, all right? American lives at stake, people. American settlers want protection, so U.S. military commander General William S. Harney, Harney, William S. Harney decides, I'm going to get involved. Okay, and he sends Captain George E. Pickett to San Juan Island. Now, when I first read that, I thought it was the Dallas Cowboys wide receiver, if I'm being completely honest. I was totally wrong. I'm a little illiterate, kinda. I keep sports on the mind. And when they first introduced it, they were like, you're supposed to know who this is. I didn't know who that was. The name really meant nothing to me. That's why I went to the football player, okay? So it was Captain George E. Pickett, who, after this, okay, he later becomes famous for Pickett's charge at Gettysburg. I'm not familiar with Pickett's charge at Gettysburg, okay? I'm not super familiar with Gettysburg. No, it was a big battle in the Civil War. You're caught up on my knowledge on Pickett's charge at Gettysburg. I know more about the pig war than I do about fucking Gettysburg, okay? But apparently that name means something. But pre-Gettysburg, George Pickett, Captain George E. Pickett is the pig situation specialist. He's our fucking guy. Okay? He's if we're gonna handle pigs, George Pickett's the guy we call. Captain George Pickett. So he arrives with about 64 US soldiers. So with him makes 65. They're a tight-knit crew. And America establishes military presence on the San Juan Islands. So, just so we're clear, no one knows who owns the island. A pig gets shot because it ate a potato. Then the U.S. military showed up to occupy the island. Okay? 65 soldiers. And it's like, what do we really think that these 65 soldiers are realistically going to do? Because it's a pig in a garden. Hell, at this point, I'm pretty sure we fucking paid the $10. I don't... Imagine you shoot a pig, you pay for the pig, have the agreement about the pig, and then legal action comes your way where you could be on the hunt for a fucking for international crime. And then the U.S. military shows up and is like, got your back, Jack. Don't worry. So the British respond because obviously they're fucking pissed. So the British governor, James Douglas, orders the Royal Navy to remove the Americans. That's settlers and soldiers. So we're talking potentially upwards of 70 people I don't know how many settlers were on the island at this time. It could be 12. It could be less. I don't know. 12 seems right. 12 seems like something I read before. So we'll say Governor James Douglas wants the Royal Navy to remove 12 settlers and 65 American soldiers. And Britain doesn't send 64 British guys to handle this or 100 British guys to handle this. They send a fucking handful of warships to the San Juan Islands. Because of a pig, we now have warships to fight on behalf of the pig. You understand? You understand how crazy that is? They send warships. So the British force eventually includes multiple ships and Royal Marines. And so now it's 64 American soldiers versus the British Royal Navy, okay? Which I don't know if you know about the big British Royal Navy. They're pretty fucking good at what they do, okay? They're one of the best navies in history. And this could be one of the reasons why, because they go, oh, you want to levy against us? Tenfold, partner. All right? So imagine being one of those 64 American. We're going to say 64, because I don't know if that's including Pickett or not. So fuck Pickett. We're going to say 64. Imagine being one of those 64 Americans, and you see a British warship pull up, and you're like, yo, I thought we were here for a pig, dude. This shit is extremely serious. The British are taking this extremely serious. Yeah, I thought this was gonna be a nice little vacation. Hit an island, go catch a swim, hit the beach, couple margaritas. And now I'm staring down the Royal Navy. I don't know. That's a tall order for, like that's a lot to ask for just some guy. Which is all American soldiers were at this point. Like, in 1859, let's not pretend like they were fucking trained to the fucking... They were just like, can you shoot a gun? And they're like, yeah. And they're like, you're hired. Go fight some British people over a pig. And they're like, oh, yeah, fucking, this sounds good to me. And so neither side is backing down. This is kind of where it becomes like a really awkward war. Probably the most awkward war of all time. Because neither side is backing down. So instead of fighting, they reinforce. Okay, each side reinforce. America eventually ends up with about 461 troops and 14 field cannons posted up on the island. They have set a boundary, a hard boundary, and the British have dozens of guns at their own, not to mention their fucking warships, okay? So it looks like this could actually become a real fucking full-blown war. Like, this is, think of the movie The Patriot with Mel Gibson. We're about to see some shit like that, okay? But with more water. Imagine The Patriot with more water. Or what's the one that Matthew McConaughey did? The Free State of Jones. Imagine that, but more fucking water. But no one wants to fight because all the soldiers and the officers, they all have to be there, but they're also like, this is about a pig. Like, I don't know if I want to kill or be killed over a pig, which is a justifiable, like, I agree. I don't know if I want that. And the officers on both sides, like, they get along. They're fucking pals. They visit each other's camps. They drink together, smoke. They go to the same churches. They fucking chill and hang out because, well, it's an island. Who the fuck else are they going to hang out with? You know what I mean? Like, there's only so much you can do. And so they're fucking friends with each other. And meanwhile, they're technically opposing military forces that are occupying the same disputed island. Technically. Realistically, George Pickett, James Douglas, they're tight. They're real fucking tight. Or the captains of the ships, whoever's in charge on the British side of things. I don't think James Douglas showed up. Okay, I don't think he showed up. And it is absurd. Okay, look, I was in the Army. All right, at no point were me and a bunch of Russians or Middle Eastern guys or whoever pointing guns at each other and then like, did you just become my best friend? Like, we didn't do the Step Brothers thing. We were like, best non-pornographic magazine to masturbate to. Good housekeeping. I never had a moment like that with the enemy, okay? These guys did. In 1859, in the Pig War, they did. It's a completely ridiculous scenario to end up in. Like, eventually this became like a tourist attraction. Like, people would fucking hop in their rowboats, sail from Oregon or Washington or Vancouver or whatever the fuck, and they'd sail off with their fucking little paddles and their bed sheet and pillowcase to go and watch the standoff between the Americans and the Britons. Okay? It's the world's most dangerous tailgate. Like, it's like if I go to a Patriots game and I'm a Bills fan, it's like, yeah, I'm going to wear my Bills gear. But is anyone really no one's actually going to like start real shit. They're going to give me a hard time and then I'm going to get a drink. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it would be. This is fucking the most dangerous tailgate of all time because they're like, well, we still have cannons. And they're like, yeah, but we're not going to use them. They're like, no, we're not going to use them. That would be crazy. So they're coming. People are coming to what? They're coming. They could be. In doing my research, I heard no mention of women. There could be coming. People are arriving to San Juan Islands to watch the American military and the British military stare at each other with cannons and do nothing. And at this point, we can officially establish that this is not a war. It is an extremely well-armed disagreement, but this is not a war, okay? If you haven't figured that out, it's the Pig War. It's the war of pig. Is that where that expression comes from? Hang on a fucking second. Does the term war pig, which I have heard before, come from the Great Pig War of 1859 in the San Juan Islands? That makes actually a fucking lot of sense to me. I don't know if that's true, but that I think that's where it comes from, dude. I think we're talking war pigs are from the expression comes from the Great Pig. It's just called the Pig War. I call it the Great Pig War, but it's just the Pig War. There could be an even greater pig war than this one. This might just be the small potatoes of the pig war. There could be the Great Pig War that happened at another time, kind of like how Australians went with the Emu War or whatever it was. We'll talk about that a different day. Australians went to war with birds and lost. It's a fucking joke of a country. Anyway, eventually, the war pigs are at a complete stalemate. Not really a stalemate, but they're not doing shit. And eventually word reaches Washington. And the U.S. government realizes, why the fuck do we have an army on an island because somebody shot a pig? Reasonable question, okay? Definitely reasonable question. Now, the president at the time was James Buchanan. Okay, President James Buchanan. I don't know what fucking number that was. Whatever fucking number James Buchanan was, it happened in the 1859 general timeline, okay? This could be year 2, this could be year... I don't fucking know. I didn't research James Buchanan. I researched the Pig War. Anyway, he sends Winfield Scott to resolve the situation, whoever the fuck that is. I didn't look that up either. That didn't seem... I'm not... This is idiot history. There's shit I did not Google. You're going to have to deal with it. Okay? So Winfield Scott, he negotiates with the British, and they reach a compromise, a joint occupation of the San Juan Island. So America gets one side, Britain gets the other side, and they remain there while the actual ownership question of the islands is settled diplomatically. And the joint occupation lasts for 12 years. That may be where I've got the 12 settlers thing from, but I still feel good about that number. The joint occupation lasted for about 12 years, from 1859 to 1871. That sounds right. 12 years, 1871. It lasts for 12 years, so the Pig War isn't really a stupid thing happened in 1859, right? What it really is, a stupid thing that happened in 1859, and America and Britain continued dealing with the consequences of that until the 1870s. That's really what the Pig War was, okay? Really what the Pig War was. The president had to get involved in this. He's like, you fucking, they did what? What? Pickets where? We need him on the front lines. And they said, well, he's on an island. He's on the front line. Anyway, I'm not going to do an old... I don't know what James Buchanan, former president James Buchanan sounds like. But I would imagine somewhat Southern, okay? Or, at that time, he could have still been kind of British, if we're being honest. He could have still had a British accent. George Washington probably had a British accent. Isn't that weird to think about? And also, he didn't know that dinosaurs existed. They were discovered after he died. Crazy. Anyway, now we're in 1871. 12 years of war. Over one pig that's been shot and paid for because he ate a potato. So in 1871, America and Britain agreed to have Kaiser Wilhelm I of Germany arbitrate their dispute. The Kaiser of Germany, you say? Because apparently after it was America, Britain, the Royal Navy, 4,000 sheep, the U.S. Army, one dead pig, and they were like, we need Germany. This may be where the whole fucking World War thing started, don't you think? Doesn't that where they were like, well, people already want us making decisions. So What if we just made decisions for the world? And the rest of Germany was like, well, hang on now, Kaiser the First. You might be onto something. He was like, yeah, we should work on that. Those two things could be connected. I didn't research that either. But did the pig war that started in 1859 result in the deaths of 6 million Jewish people at the hands of Adolf Hitler? Maybe. Fucking maybe. We asked Germany for help and they went, well, now we're a little power hungry, okay? That's what it sounds like to me. So they go, let's let Germany handle it, all right? And a commission meets in Geneva. I'm pretty sure that's I'm pretty sure if this is where the San Juan Islands are, this is where Geneva is. I don't know if that's true. I don't know where Geneva is. I know they have a convention. This is probably the first one by the sounds of it. So the commission meets in Geneva in 1872. In 1872, the decision comes down. The United States wins. We win because that's what America fucking does. Okay? We did that for the people. We did that for the settlers who were going to get kicked off the island. We went and we won this fucking pig war. Okay? Thank you, Germany, but this is the only time. Okay? So the United States wins. The San Juan Islands are awarded to America. Britain, and all their fucking cocky cuntiness, Britain accepts the decision as the humble people they are. That's why they don't have guns in their country. The Royal Marines leave. The remaining American presence eventually leaves, and the pig war is finally over. So let's take a look at the scorecard. The United States gets San Juan Islands. Britain loses the San Juan Islands. America and Britain avoid war. And the pig is fucking dead. Why is it called the Pig War? No major battle. No great military victory. No enormous casualty list. One dead pig. That's why it's the Pig War. The only death surrounding this incident specifically, because they were there for 12 years. Okay, it's the 1800s. They could have died for a plethora of other reasons. Okay? Someone could have eaten a fucking bad crepe. These guys are toast. But the only death directly associated with the war was the one fucking pig. So technically, America won the pig war, which means somewhere in American military history, there is a war we won because we had the better legal argument about a dead pig. And hey, yeah, we did, okay? If that doesn't give you pride as a country to know that we moved into an island and we said, we think we're going to keep this. Shot one animal. And then Great Britain eventually went, yeah, all right. Whoa. You guys can have it. If that doesn't make you proud to be an American, then I don't know what does. Okay? Now, there could be listeners from other countries to this show. I don't know. I don't look at the map. But either way, even if you're not an American, ridiculous story. Ridiculous that America and Great Britain went to war over one dead pig and no one died, and we still call it the Pig War, and it lasted for 12 years. That's absurd. That is completely absurd. Our big takeaways from here are the British, little ridiculous. Americans, a little ornery, a little stubborn, a little hot-headed. The Germans got a little power hungry here, okay? The Kaiser fucking really went off the deep end when he started convincing Germany that they need to be running shit. All right, but that's the end of the Pig War, 1859 to 1872. I guess is when the decision came down. Took 3 countries, 1 death, a bunch of guns over islands that are American but sound very south of the border in the San Juan Islands. I don't even know if that's what they're still called now, or if that's just what they were called then. I don't know if they were called something different then, and now that's what they're called now. I have no fucking idea. They could have been the San Juan Islands the whole time. I don't know who came up with that name, because they're in the whitest part of the world. Washington State, Oregon, and Vancouver. I don't even know if they get sunlight in that part of the earth. But it's the San Juan Islands. It's the Pig War. That's the show for today, guys. That was Idiot History on the Pig War. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoy the show, please like and subscribe. That goes a long way for what we're trying to do over here. I know we usually cover sports, conspiracy theories that I fucking make up on my own time, but every now and then I like to dive into some weird history because it's fun. Idiot History is the show or the episodes that I do where we just kind of go like, what if you heard a history lesson from a drunk guy at the bar? That's it. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you enjoyed the show, go check out Rudy Tuesdays, a comedy podcast I do with Breck Michael and Rudy Marinosi. And in fairness, Gianna Marinosi as well. She's the producer. She does say stuff on the microphone. So go catch us there. My name's Pat O'Connor. You can follow me on Instagram at Pat O'Connor Comedy. Go follow, like I said, subscribe to the YouTube, to follow us on Spotify. Go download Spotify on your grandmama's phone and just press play for me, okay? Whatever you got to do, but we appreciate you. We love you over here. I'm alone. I love you, okay? Don't let anyone else take my love away from you. Don't be ashamed. Let's not get into a big war about it, okay? It's one pig. Let this war pig love you on his own, simply. I love you.